Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Toku Portal podcast for Kikai Sentai Zenkaiger. I am Vashi V, and joining me today is.
Right. Uh, Welcome to episode 42, the first episode of the new year.
In more ways than one.
Uh, yeah, at first I thought Gowon was just watching a program about cats before remembering, like, oh no, it's the year of the tiger.
Right. And then, literally in the other way, too, for later on. Technically, this would mark the first episode for that, too.
Oh. Nah, this is kind of like,
I get that this is supposed to be, like, what would normally be the crossover in the,
yeah,
the,
it's
the
it's
team up
like
movie,
that.
but given what we know for the next season,
I
I
wouldn't
count it.
I wouldn't really call this the first episode of the next season, just like the precursor. This is the prologue.
This is the episode 0.
Actually, though, yes, I would call this episode 0 for that. Uh, okay. Uh, so it's January and it's pretty cold out because it's winter. Uh, but Juran gets hot easily, so he had turned the heater down. And everyone scolds him for not learning his lesson after he turned the AC up too high in the summer.
See, I can fully side with Duran on that because half the time I am like that.
Uh, I'd rather be hot than cold.
I'm kind of iffy on either one. Because on one hand, if I'm cold, I can put more stuff on. If I'm hot, there's only so much that can come off to cool me off.
Yeah, that's the common argument that people tell me when I say I'd prefer to be hot than cold. Uh,
Like, the longer I'm in winter, I absolutely agree with you. I cannot stand being
like
cold in the winter.
the thing is that like when I'm talking cold, I'm talking like below 20 temperatures.
Yeah, no, I can't stand that.
Yeah, no, me neither. Cuz like earlier today, like it's cold outside, like I just put on like a light hoodie and walked to the store because just walking naturally heated me up. Like that's not what I mean when I say cold.
Right.
Like
Like,
I'm
I used.
talking like really cold.
Right. Like, it's the one thing I hate about walking to work.
Uh, uh,
And
so,
I will give this episode credit because we all know the formula with Sentai. That opening scene is going to be extremely relevant to things that play out later.
yep. Because
This
Kaido,
one's done, despite the fact that it's literally in here only for the episode. It genuinely makes sense. Like, it doesn't come across as, here's the MacGuffin.
right. So Kaido comments on if only they had a kotatsu or however that's pronounced.
Yeah,
It,
Kotatsu.
Kotatsu. If you don't know what that is, it's a low table with a heating element underneath so that you can slide your legs under, and then you have a blanket around it so that to trap the heat in so that you stay warm.
I want one.
So does my roommate.
Like,
uh,
because they're very prominent in anime and a lot of Japanese shows, but primarily more in anime than. But yeah, it's like I've always wanted one. It just seems perfect for when I want to be lazy. But I get why Kaito wasn't allowed to have it.
right. So Yachan comments that she doesn't like how they bewitch people. And they get interrupted by the monster the week before she didn't explain herself, but what she meant was it's too comfortable and people don't want to like leave. Like as a kid, Kaido spent so much time underneath there, she had to get rid of it.
Also, I do like want to point out that it wasn't Sechan that noticed the Toji Tendo.
No, it was the news.
The freaking news found it before, which to me
Although
signals a
we
problem.
well, we no, because we don't know how Sechan is locating them. Like maybe he does monitor the news,
Right, like
and this just happened to be the one time that they had the TV on when it happened.
right, because like every time Sechan's done it, it's always seemed to be like when Toji Tendo's attacking,
Right, like
like
half the time.
actively using the power. So it's like, is Sechan sensing the power, or or in this case, monitoring the news and social media?
And half the time, one of them is out there and encounters the monster by fucking chance, anyways.
Right.
And
Usually that's how it starts.
and
Then
they're
it's
the
Sechan.
yeah they tell Sechan, who informs everyone else. Uh, so yeah, this week's monster is Kotatsu World, or whatever its name is.
Yeah, it's not so world.
With a cat theme because it's the year of the tiger. Like
That makes more sense than the sense that I found for it. Because I was like, what the fuck do cats have to do anything? Because I forgot about the whole year of the cat thing.
Oh, what kind
My
of
brain went, you stick cats in like the little if it's cold,
I mean,
they'll curl up in this. They'll curl up in the sunny spot and be lazy.
Well, yeah, that works too.
That's where my brain went rather than Year of the Tiger.
It all ties together. But yeah, like his head is just like a kotatsu with a cat underneath it, like sticking its head out.
Boy, if that doesn't backfire on him.
I love that like Zox's ship flies overhead and he fires his beam at them and hits them all on the ship.
The first monster actually have intelligence though that level.
Like, Katan and Riki have their own mini kotatsus on top of their siblings' kotatsus. Oh. The visual comedy in this show is great.
Which, to be fair, there's not much more going on for it. 90% of the time.
Yeah, the one story beat we've had has been the same story beat for like 30 episodes. Hell, they finally get Kaido's dad back, and he fucks off to go and look for Kaido's mom off camera.
Which is what they were doing off camera.
So, everyone gets stuck underneath the kotatsu and can't get out. Except for Jiren, because he gets hot easily, and he just has enough and has to get out. And he just slides right out. And they're like, how did you do that? And he's like, I mean, I just left. Come on, your turn. But you can't be forced out. They're kind of stuck to you. You basically have to want to get out.
Right.
Kaido comes up with a brilliant idea. If we have to be stuck in a kotatsu, they have wearable ones that kind of look like sleeping bags.
Yeah. Like, my brain went, like, Snuggie, but for just the bottom half. But yeah, straight up just looks like a wearable sleeping bag.
So, and you can just lie down and, like, slide your legs in or sit down, yeah. So Jiren's like, alright, I'll just go and buy some. The stores are all sold out.
Because it's winter.
But, like, the lady says, like, oh, they suddenly became in high demand. Like, that tells me that other people had this same idea. Of go out and buy a wearable one.
Like, and to me, it's like, I will give Jiren credit, too. Because when he hit the third store, it's like, oh, we should have more in 2 days. He goes,
maybe I should put in the order just in case.
Just in case this takes 2 days.
He gets interrupted from that, though, when he gets an emergency call. Everyone stuck in the kotatsus is slowly turning into a cat. Kaito's nightmare eyes.
The reaction Pixie had when she saw it was fucking
Oh, she
hilarious
finally
to me.
caught up?
Yeah, she's caught up. But she's sitting there watching and she's just... The fuck is that? And also, for some reason, the cats turn into a cat, too.
A real cat.
Because even Gowan puts out, why do you have 4 ears?
Yep, they're becoming as lazy as a cat, like you said earlier. So Jurin does everything in his power to try and help them. Like, here, I got you some stuff, like some water so you stay hydrated. Like, here's some cloths to wipe your face with. Goes up to the pirates and yells at them. This really
in giant dinosaur mode, too.
Even before they said it later on in the episode, like, this really highlights how Jurin is older and wiser than the rest of them, and how he's kind of like the dad of the group.
Right, like, it makes sense that he's red. Like, despite the fact that he hasn't really had a lot of moments to shine as a red. Because, let's face it, those moments were all given to Kaito.
Right, because Kaito is the leader. He's the effective red, even though Jurin is literally red.
Literally red, right. So it was nice for Jurin to get that I am the red moment.
One important role of Reds is being able to support the group and back them up whatever happens. And that's what Jurin's role is. It's not always the Red's role, because sometimes you got like a fireball Red that just kind of dashes forward. But
who slowly learns his lesson over the course of 40 episodes.
But a big role of Red is just supporting the rest of the team, like being someone that they can look up to and trust in. And that's like, Jurin's role.
It's not just being the I'm the boss. It's here we've now had all this time and now you understand why I am the boss and you trust me and I trust you. And it's more of the whole showing that mentality. Which Jurin fully shows by deciding to do dancing.
Yeah. It's like, hey, wait, what if I gave people a reason to want to leave? Hey, dance party! Come on, get up and dance!
So I have a question. We're 42 episodes in, and this episode has officially raised a question for me.
What's up?
Outside of the opening theme song.
Yes.
Like the opening credits.
Yes.
When and I don't count insert songs.
Okay.
When the hell has Kaito ever heard this song?
I don't know.
Because he literally asks, wait, where have I heard this before?
It's probably just a...
Literally not. It's a meta joke.
It's a meta joke. This show has broken the fourth wall before.
I know, it's a joke that annoys... It's the only joke in this entire show that truly annoys me. Because, quite literally, outside of the opening credits, this song has never been played. Like, I give ToQger credit, at least, like, they went 100% in on that song. It was literally part of an episode.
Go for it! But yeah, here, no, I think it's just a meta joke, which this particular show is not a stranger to. And then Sechan locates the monster, and Sojourn's like, alright, if nothing else works, I can just defeat him and restore everything to normal. And he might have been able to do it. If Barashitara felt the need to come in and interfere.
Like, I 100% think Jurin could have soloed the monster. Which I've realized that is also something we haven't really gotten this show. I don't think we've gotten this show at all.
Anyone soloing the monster? No. But we've gotten...
outside of Zox.
When did
Because
he do it?
Zox soloed the one that slowed him down.
Oh, yeah! Wow, I forgot about
Because he
that one.
soloed his ass on the bridge. And he also soloed Diamond World.
Okay, so maybe Zox has soloed a couple of people.
But, again, the additional member, that's usually bog standard.
Right, like, you gotta... It's typical for them to solo someone when they're introduced to show that, like, yo, I'm the new badass.
Right. Well, to me, they usually get at least two, and that's why I count it two. They get the initial on the introduction, and then the second episode when they solo it with the mech.
And sometimes they decide to solo the main team just because they can.
Yeah. That's always fun.
You know what else is fun? Spinning Table of Death.
And that is exactly why I said his design shoots him in the face. Because Kaito was literally a cat under a kotatsu shooting at him.
Fuse the tables together and just Zox's ship, pick it up and swing it into battle.
All while Sechan pilots the ship.
Leading into a fantastic roll call. We get one of these like every few episodes.
Few episodes, yeah.
Like, this show has just been going all out on them. Made even better that there's always that one that's like not part of it and does their normal roll call in the middle.
In this case, Juran. Or you get the reverse
where it's only one that's different. When Juran was invisible or Majin was like really pissed off and was like ready to...
When Vroom was covered in trash and, you know, miles away from it. Though it was weird to see Zox dance sitting down. I had expected them to skip that this time.
Nope.
Also, credit to Duran for calling him out. Because that was unnecessary, and there's no way you're gonna look cool. Like, we're cool right now.
So, before we move on, Barashitara was doing this to turn everyone into cats to, like, impress Bakuwas.
To calm him down.
Right, because, like, he is super pissed at Ijirune's failure and Stacy's betrayal, and everything has been going wrong since they got here. Like this wasn't any just take over the world attempt. This was Barashitara just like trying to impress the boss.
Right, like it was a mixture of both. Is like, not only am I gonna take over the world, I'm gonna calm him down with a bunch of pets.
Like, I have to say, thinking back on it, his serious plans have been the ones to work or come the closest.
Yeah, because a lot of EJ Rude's, like, the closest EJ Rude's has come close to working is the ones that actually directly involve Stacy.
Right. EJ Rude has a lot of, like, high-risk, high-reward plans, but most of them don't even come close. Like, I think Sundial World was one of his, and that one just completely bombed.
Yeah.
But Vacation World almost fucking worked, and that was Barashitara's.
And to be fair, even Barashitara was pissed off at how that one played out.
But it almost worked.
So, due to reasons, I want to skip what's next and go to the end.
The Stacy end?
Yes.
Okay,
so that way we can end this with
with the other thing. Okay,
Yeah.
so after the big fight, uh, Stacy, we see that Stacy has been captured by Toji Tendo and locked in a jail cell. Well, more of a cage,
Yeah.
like a
I mean,
hamster.
he needs another pet.
Speaking of pets, Geej, or Geej's twin brother? Still unclear about that.
Yeah, extremely unclear.
But until we get confirmation that it's not the same bird, I'm gonna assume that it is.
Same here.
So Geej shows up to pay Stacy a little visit. Stacy's unamused, however. Like, what, you here to mock me? I'm not. I'm not here to talk. Geej isn't here to talk either. He If you don't remember, Stacy is part machine because he is half Kikanoid, which means he has a mechanical mind. So Geej hijacks it. Whether they truly swapped bodies or he simply downloaded his own consciousness into Stacy's body is yet to be seen. But for now,
Holy shit.
Stacy is effectively possessed by Geej.
Like, this is one of those moments where it's like, because I've seen images that I shouldn't have seen by now. And, like, there's one or two that make me question possibly half in the next episode.
I'm glad we're getting this though, because first off, this is a good plot point. Second,
Right. Because, like, this is, like, to me, we've already had the full trigger for Stacy to switch sides.
right.
Because he's now been betrayed by EJ Rude. He's basically been fucked up by Bakawas for something he didn't do.
Something he did do, actually.
Well, you know what I mean, though. It's like, despite doing it, it was still one of those, like,
he was falsely
he was falsely accused, but yet it was an accurate accusation.
And he accidentally admitted to it.
Yeah. So, you basically get EJ Rude throwing him under the bus, Bakawas running with it because he accidentally admitted it.
And
so then, you know, he gets caged and tortured.
And as far as we know, Barashitara has shown no signs of caring. He hasn't mentioned Stacy once this episode.
Right, like the only one who has shown any type of understanding has been Geej.
Like this whole show, like every so often, like every 5 or 6 episodes, Geej will do something, like something out of the ordinary, like that time he helped Kaito, or that time he created a world to do his own plan, or like just even
or
like
that time he gave Stacy, you know,
like,
heads up going, you're gonna have to
like,
pick a side.
I saw what you did, but I won't say anything right now. Like, all of this has been building up to, like, what's your game here? Like, what's...
Like, at this point, is he actively trying to make a pass to take over for Bakawas? Is he trying to set Stacy up? Is he trying to give Stacy that out?
Based on the preview. He goes to the Zenkaigers and he's like, I'm your friend, aren't I? And they're like, you're not Stacy. We can tell you're not Stacy. Based on that preview, I'm guessing that he doesn't have the full information of what Stacy's been doing. All he knows is Stacy's been working with the enemy and makes the wrong conclusion that they are actually friends. So he approaches them trying to put on a friendly face of like, it's me, Stacy, your friend. So that he can
find out.
Yeah, try to gain their trust and then betray them. But it doesn't work because they can tell quickly that, or I assume quickly that, like, you're not Stacy. You didn't open this conversation by shooting me with a gun.
So, I'm gonna talk about something that I saw. There's no verification that this is...
That was all my theory and speculation for what's going to happen. Go ahead.
Well, I'm going to describe an image I saw. And it's technically kind of spoiler, so I apologize in advance for anybody. I've seen an image for at least next week's episode of Zox and Stacy side by side transforming.
I that
And
could
it's not in the we're gonna stand side by side transforming then duel.
right. So that could be like the fake Stacy
So
next
there's one
week,
of right. So
or
there's or that could be the second half of the
because
episode.
like
Stacy
it's
gets his body back and goes fuck you.
right. It's the start of the month, which means that like yeah, that was a magazine scan you saw, right?
I'm
They
assuming.
they like throw that stuff out there at the start of each month, like hey, here's what's coming this month, and so that you can see like any new like mech combinations or
Right.
whatever. That's what that is. So like whatever you
the
saw.
reason the reason why I question whether or not it is in this episode, it was in the images I saw. Every other image was from the trailer for next week.
So it could be like next week's episode. But
Yeah,
all we know for sure is that that's happening within the next 3 episodes.
right. And the question is that
In fact,
Siege Stacy or is that Stacy Stacy?
in fact, we're gonna finally be getting SD World. It could be that episode.
That it could be because that's what 44.
Uh, either 44 or 44, yep.
Yeah, because I remembered you told me three episode titles and SD was the third.
Yeah.
The last time we did the podcast.
So yeah, next week is the Weather Vane or whatever, then SD World, and then something about fortune, bad luck or something. And that's all we know for like this month.
Right. So like in my head, knowing that is a scene, like I said, it can be placed next episode, or it can be placed later on. If it's placed next episode, then either it's Gage trying to play that role before they figure it out, or he 100% is back to Stacy and goes to hell with Toji Tendo, or at least to hell with Toji Tendo at this moment. But I very much look forward to it. Speaking of other things I look forward to.
In the middle of the fight, Kaido is in a rough spot and decides to use the new Sentai gear his dad gave him, and summons Don Momotaro.
Though, to be fair, at this point, based on the show, we don't know his name.
We don't actually know who he is, but
So
if you've been paying attention to the advertising...
Yeah, advertising, we know what it is as per...
In show, no...
I'm sure Japan knows who he is already.
In show, no one knows who he is, because Sechan is just like, I don't have any record of a Sentai member like this, and Juren's just like, did we have a senpai like this?
It's like, and it's even to the point where even Zox goes, he stuck around for a while. Because usually they show up and disappear.
Right. Also, props to Vroom for, like, getting up with the Kotatsu on his back and tackling Barashitara. It didn't work, but props to him for trying.
Props to him for trying, and it worked long enough.
Right. I love that, like, when they're fighting Kotatsu World, though, the comments of, like, who is this guy? Why... What is this fighting style?
Why is there a peach on your head?
I think the monster said that.
Yes, somebody said it.
One of them said it. I kind of lost track in the midst of all that.
This right here is where I miss TV Nihon's
colored subs.
Colored subtitles.
Yeah, who's talking? Well, you know, the red guy with the red subtitles.
But at least with this one, they would have stylized it for how they were going to do Dawn Brothers. Or at least styled it differently than how they would have had Juren.
Right, they would have styled Don Momo's in whatever they were planning on doing for him. Oh well.
But holy shit, for the love of crap, let this show continue to do fights like this. Like, my hope is, despite the fact of the wackiness of the idea for Dawn Brothers, I want the fight scenes to be more fight.
Right, like Don Momo's fighting style is high energy and mobile. And if that's what we can look forward to next season, then there's some potential here.
Like, and even with just like his personality in general, when he's like just talking to the others, he has that cocky arrogance of I'm a badass and I know it. I don't mind if he doesn't start that way in the show, but he definitely needs to reach that really quick.
And then we get to a point where we saw a spoiler for this that confused the hell out of us until this moment, the mech fight, where Don Momo says, "Hey, borrow my ride,"
And Juro goes,
and Juren,
I'm gonna borrow it.
"You owe me though."
Which that right there is perfect setup for
For later.
for later in Dawn Brothers. Like that is, I'll give it credit if that is why they did this scene, just to have that make sense, and it's just fucking awesome if they did.
Juren is able to combine with the bike to form a new mech, piloted by Kaito.
Though it is very odd doing it by himself, having no one to talk to. He's a very lonely robot.
We get a really good CGI fight. And, like, I don't think they can pull that off every single episode. But, like, if they just meet that level of, like, excitement for it.
Right. I'm not sold on the finisher in the aspect of it throwing the gear. I wish it would have just stuck with the standard sword slash. Instead of here's a sword slash and then a gear just launches.
I didn't mind it.
Like, it works given the aesthetics, but I miss sword finishers.
So, back at Colorful, everyone is thanking Juran for all the work that he put in for them today. They've turned the heat down, Gowan's gonna make his favorite dish.
Jane and Flint are giving him a massage.
When Juran gets up to go wash up for dinner, Kaido and Zox are both like, "Hey, let us help you. Like, we can, like, wash your back." But, like, there's not enough room in the bathroom for all of them, so they're just like, "John Kenpo!"
Like, I get why. And because it is a line that said earlier in their episode during the fight that, Zox will pay his debts.
Right.
Which is 100% why is just in my head. I'm like, that you were way too enthusiastic about this. For someone who's been, distantly cool with everybody, even up until here recently. Like, for him to be just that into this idea, because without the spotlight being on him, was weird. Not bad, it was just weird.
Zox is a pirate. He can be a lot of things, but not a liar.
That is true. This is why he stopped stealing shit. But, like, I am grateful for this episode after the last one. I get why we got the break. But damn, did I need the story to progress.
Huh. What was that about? I paused on the preview because I saw a shot of, like, oh, this is Stacy confronting Barashitara, so, like, maybe that's Geek's real plan. And then I paused it and I went, wait, is that Kiryu Red? Oh, it is. Yeah, okay. What is that about? Oh, wait, that's probably the gear. Yeah, that's probably the gear they're gonna use that next episode.
Yeah, because I know that one's in it. I want to say it was uh Go On Red.
Maybe. I couldn't tell who the other one was.
Because there were two other ones in it. There, at least when they were being blown away or sucked up by um, the Vortex world. It's like Zenkaiger is a show that very much knows where its strengths lies, and fully understands it's not plot. But when it does plot, it does do it great. It's like, but it 100% understands that 90% of their stuff is just either gags or minor shit with characters.
They are targeted towards the younger audience.
This one really seems to be the
Right.
case.
Rider is for the older audience, but they in recent years they've also been trying to target to like both demographics, and
Right.
we've seen how that's been going.
Yeah. Like this season more specifically seems more geared than the last few have seen towards the younger audience. Even and by younger audience, I mean even for Sentai. Um because the series is more gags and jokes and fourth wall breaking and all that rather than plot plot heavy versus with the jokes smattered in, like for lack of a better term, the way Lupin Ranger was, which was a very heavy show.
The plot was in the character development.
Right. It's like, but the plot, the character development and just the plots of the episodes half the time were really heavy plots in terms of like intense. Like it involved really deep character moments and realizations and coming to terms with this character versus this character. It was very complex. Whereas this is just here's colors and funny. Which it like I said, it's like it's not saying that this show's bad. It's just this show's clearly more geared towards a younger audience than Lupat or Rhea Soldier. Which over the last few years it has trended more that way. So why I'm kind of hoping that Zenkaiger will at least hit that middle ground between the two, or Dawn Brothers.
I was gonna say, like,
I'm hoping Dawn Brothers will like be that middle ground.
honestly, like from what we've seen so far, I have no expectations for it because I don't know what to expect.
Right, because like take Revice for example. The first introduction we had to Revice was at the end of Saber.
And how did that go? What did that leave you feeling when you watched it?
I didn't want 20 minutes of fart jokes.
But the actual show isn't that.
Oh my god. There has not been one fart joke. Like, Vice in Saber's, like, all it was is he was a smartass. He broke the fourth wall. Which, that still happens. It's like, but for whatever reason, all he did was rip ass. Throughout the entire episode. So when it came to actually sitting down to watch Revice, I'm sitting there like the whole time just going, I just don't want a fart joke. It turned out to be
who wrote
fantastic.
that?
I have no idea, but I'm going to assume it was Saber.
It could be, yeah, that it was like a different writer that, like, whoever is writing Revise kind of just gave him a quick description of like, yeah, he's just kind of like a joke character. Like he can be serious at times, but like he cracks jokes when he's fighting. And so the Saber writer just kind of went, okay, jokes. Sure, farts are funny.
So special page, a new page opens.
That would make sense to me at least. Like they
The
weren't
writer,
the other guy being like,
the writer for that episode
mm-hmm.
wrote one, two, three, four, 5 episodes
of Saber.
of Saber, and those are his writing credits.
Okay, so yeah, so you have an inexperienced writer, who
Well,
was probably not given a.
to me on he was also the secondary writer for both Ultraman X and Ultraman Orb.
Okay, I haven't seen Ultraman.
Has experience, maybe not as much as we would like.
Secondary writer, like, okay, some experience, but when I say experienced writer, I'm talking like Inui.
Main, yeah,
Like someone who's been the main writer for like a good chunk of a series. Secondary writers are usually, because the main writer handles a lot of like the heavy work in like the ground, laying the grounds. A secondary writer takes those grounds and builds off of it.
right. Which, yeah,
So
they knew
this
this character
writer,
knew nothing for a revise.
basically, like they're given like not a very sufficient description of the character, and that writer was probably too busy actually writing Revice to come in and help give notes.
Right. Which, again, acceptable. Um, there have been better. There have been much better. Introduction episodes for series like, to be fair, Denham's appearance in Ghost was fantastic. Weird, but fantastic. Because they filmed that right. Now, in defense of that special episode, that was really the only bad part of it. Everything else is still very kind of on par for where that episode would theoretically take place. So, like, I just want them to build off of what they already have for Dawn Brothers, with what we have seen.
Right, and like...
And it not... I don't want it to go lower than where it's at. I don't expect it to stay at that intensity all the way through. That's unrealistic.
And Zox made the comment of like, yeah, he stuck around for a while for an illusion, but it wasn't an illusion. He didn't disappear afterwards.
Summoned.
He drove off into the sunset.
Right, like it summoned him to them. So like in my head, like, and this is also giving me something I want. So we remember, I think it was Gokaiger. Gokaiger did it. So we all remember the Gokaiger appearance in the Shinkenger movie.
Oh yeah.
Where they show up on the beach. I want them to do a Gokaiger where some point during this episode, during the series, I want Don Momotaro's to get summoned back to that fight.
And you see him take off, and you see what the rest of the team was doing at the time.
Right. The same way we got that with
Gokaiger.
Gokaiger when they went to go get Ninja.
It's like, you've already seen this fight. Here's what else was going on.
Right. Here's what Silver was doing, because apparently he was there at the time. You know, it's like, I like when they do that rather than just ignoring that scene ever took place. And given how they planned to move this show forward, based on what we've heard, it would make sense to do that. Even if it's just like in a flashback episode. Oh, by the way, remember that time I got summoned?
My only question, because of what we know, is how do they get their gear How do they? Where does their equipment come from?
Right, because
I.
based on what we know,
It should be the same as this.
the only thing I could think of as at the points of his dad hopping around, he ends up back on Earth somewhere else. He goes, "Oh, by the way, here," and leaves because he already made the gear for him, so he has to know they exist.
Right.
So he has already either previously armed him or had every intention of going back to arm him. Because otherwise, there was no reason for him to make that gear. And also, yes, I'm reading way too far into a kid's show to try and get shit to make sense.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure our questions will be answered come March.
Still weird that we got his debut and we still have to wait till March.
Yeah,
Usually, by the time we see that initial appearance, it's either the week before, or despite the fact that it was months prior,
it was in a movie.
it was in a movie that we didn't get until halfway through the show that it's for.
But yeah, depending on when in March that show is starting determines how long Zenkaiger is. But assuming the first Sunday in March, then we're looking at 49 episodes of Zenkaiger.
Which, if I looked at it right when I saw it, March 6th.
That is the first Sunday in March. So,
Which, that's per IMDb.
I mean, I don't know where they got their source from.
I don't know where they did either. I will give them credit. They're usually pretty good with their sources, at least for our stuff.
So yeah, I think it's fair to just take a guess at 49 episodes, which means we have this was 42 or 43.
42. This was 42.
So we got 7 more episodes. 2 more months of Zenkaiger.
Which I'm kind of all for, given the end of this show. Where it seems to be going, they've built up very good for the end of this show.
Right, like a lot of
as long as they've drawn it out. That's my only issue. Is I want a very damn good payoff.
A lot of plot progression has felt slow, but when you realize that that was the only plot they had, then
right, like, and this is the switch side to like Lupat's slow plot. It at least had a plot, and well, in reality, it had more than one because you had the plot of the villains, and then you had the plot of the characters from A to B throughout the length of that entire show. Is like, and it was just one long running plot. That was the main focus rather than focus on defeating the villains. This has been, there's a plot. We're gonna ignore it 90% of the time.
Here's Stacy. Say goodbye to Stacy for a few episodes. Here's Stacy.
Here's 5 episodes that are just Monster of the Week episodes that have no common thread beyond the characters are in them. Like, and again, it's like the show's not bad by any means. This show's fantastic. There are elements that I wish they could do better. That I felt they could do better.
It's
primarily,
just when it comes to the actual story of it, there's only one character with story.
Right. It's like and the sad thing is like when you go, if we were to take all of them, for lack of a better term, nonsensical episodes out of the show would have been done like 2 months after it aired.
I'm curious about that now. Like when the show finishes, I might pull the Stacy specific episodes and see what happens if you watch those.
And see how long it takes.
Not just how long it takes, but see what kind of pacing it has.
Yeah, I'd say do that, but also throw in
Like throw in like
the rescue, the first rescue, the other two rescues because they're prominent into the plot.
like throw in like all the character introductions. So like the first few episodes of the team forming,
The power up episode, the introduction of Zox,
and
and then
just cut out things like Vacation World or the Sundial episode. Like Retro
and
World probably wasn't. No wait, Retro World was important. That was a Stacy
yes,
episode.
it was a Stacy episode. So, but that is something we will have to get into well after the end of Zenkaiger. So now that we're back on schedule, I will be here next week.
I
On
think I
time.
will be here next week.
At least with the end of the show, we at least need to get 2 episodes, correctly done a week apart. We've tried,
Wait.
failed. Would have, but we skipped a week because of holidays, and then we didn't have an episode last week.
Yeah. And then the show was...
this last one was out of our control.
I don't think there are going to be any more breaks, so I think we got a solid 7 more episodes to the end.
Full force, nonstop.
Thanks for joining. We'll see you next